Hey everyone, Dan Mortimer with eXp Realty bringing you another weekly real estate market update. This is for Henderson and Las Vegas markets with data as of Monday, June 30th, 2025. We are at the end of June. We are at the halfway point of the year. It is crazy how quickly this year has flown by. But let's go ahead and dive into the data for the last 7 days and see what's going on in our market. So first, in the last 7 days, we had exactly 1,000 new listings hit the market. Flat number, kind of crazy, but 1,000 new listings. We also had 161 properties come back on the market in the last 7 days. A little bit lower than what we've seen, but still kind of in line with kind of the current trend. We had 1,277 homes that had a price decrease of some kind in the last week. I've seen homes that had big drops, $10,000, $15,000, $25,000. I've seen some that had $1 drops, which not the most effective strategy. I'm not sure what game plan those owners are going with, but I've seen some that dropped $1. Getting into the under contracts. Now, this is a number that last week when we looked at it, it felt very low to me. Like it was 15, almost 20% lower than kind of the expectation. This week, it seems like things rebounded a little bit. 431 homes that went into under contract show status, another 356 that went into under contract no show status. So in total, you're talking about 787 homes compared to 1,000 new listings. So again, we still have that gap that we talked about before, but if you remember last week, if you watched that video, there was a big drop off. It was the first time in a long time that I had seen that figure under 700 properties going under contract in a single week without like a major holiday or something that really affected things coming together. So it seems like things are back on track and actually kind of had a big upswing this week. Maybe compensating for some of the lack that we had in the previous week. Getting into the solds, we had 677 homes that sold, closed escrow in the last 7 days. That's pretty healthy. It's pretty well in line with kind of what we've been seeing. Depending on the week, depending on how it gets scheduled out, we'll sometimes see a lot of closings at the end of the month. Sometimes we'll see a lot of closings at the beginning of the following month. It just kind of depends on the buyers and seller situations. And then we kind of more look at the solds on like a monthly scale as opposed to a weekly to determine kind of what's going on in the market. The bigger thing to watch is how many properties are coming on the market, how many are going under contract, what does our inventory look like. That gives us a little bit better idea of the trends. And then we had another 69 that got put into coming soon status. For those that are new to the channel, coming soon is basically a pre-market status that we use in our MLS. It basically means that the home will be on the market active in the next 30 days or less, usually quite a bit less. It used to be back 4 or 5 years ago, companies like Zillow would use coming soon status on their website to pre-market listings before they had their photos, before everything was ready for the market, and they would use it to kind of tease buyers about it. And there was a lot more demand in the market back then. So getting coming soon status was something really unique that they offered, and our MLS eventually added it as well because they didn't like the idea of Zillow trying to kind of undercut them. And have people driving more traffic to them. So a lot of MLSs now have this coming soon status. Ours does as well. And it's not quite as exciting as it was before when the market was hot because, well, things are a little bit slower now. Buyers have a lot of choices. And so you don't necessarily want your property in coming soon status for very long because it usually means that you're getting fewer eyeballs on it. You don't need that exclusivity now. You need your home to be out in front of as many potential buyers as possible. So people don't want to leave it in that coming soon status for very long. They'll throw it on the market pretty quickly once they have the photos, the description, all that kind of stuff sorted out and ready to go. Long-winded explanation on that and a little bit of historical context for you. But let's get into the active listings. We currently have 7,485 single-family homes on the market, 1,572 condos, and another 1,144 townhomes. So in total, that's a little over 10,000. The actual number, I think, is getting closer to 12,000 when you factor in all the other listing inventory that we have in our MLS, high rises, land, things like that, plus new construction inventory. So again, it kind of shows the example that we've been talking about for a long time. Inventory has been climbing in Las Vegas. We haven't seen prices necessarily drop off in a big way, but one thing that I have noticed in the last couple of weeks, for about 18 months, we had a period where there was not a lot of buyer activity, but there wasn't a lot of listing activity either. For those that follow the market somewhat closely, in 2024, we had high rates and high prices, and we really weren't seeing prices come down much. Sellers, unless they were really motivated, were kind of sticking to their price, whether it was overpriced or in line with where they should be. Owners were kind of standing pat, and there just weren't a lot of buyers in the market unless they needed to get into something. So we kind of saw things stay steady, flat, maybe a little bit of an increase here and there, but we never really saw a lot of aggressive price drops because the inventory was still very, very low. Even now, we're just getting back to inventory levels that we had pre-COVID, and starting to see that balance out a little bit more. But the activity has still remained low. That's why I like doing these updates, because it keeps you in the loop about how many homes are going under contract, how many are coming on the market. It really gives you a good idea of kind of the trends that are going on as our market evolves. You can get a little bit of that from the monthly snapshots as well, but it's really good to see that weekly data just to see if there are ebbs and flows and what's going on, as opposed to looking at just month-to-month numbers. But what we've seen as we've gotten into 2025, and even in January, February, March, the beginning of the spring season, I think a lot of property owners put their homes up, maybe priced it for the market that they wanted, not necessarily the market that they were in. And we saw a lot of people stand pat, keep their homes at these higher prices with no activity, very little movement, no offers, that kind of thing. But what we've seen in the last, I would say that especially in the last 60 days, maybe even a little bit beyond that, but the last 60 days going back to, what would that be, end of April, beginning of May, is we're starting to see owners get a little more motivated. Could be for a variety of reasons. I've talked to a lot of owners that are moving to another state, moving to another market, moving across town. Maybe they have a new construction home that they're buying. Maybe they found the right home in the community that they want to be in. And so when that happens, that motivation, it ticks up. And in most cases, people that are selling homes are not necessarily selling to go back to renting. There are some, but most of them are getting into another home. So it usually means they found another situation that fits their needs. It's in a community that's closer to work or closer to family or whatever it may be. And so we are seeing that motivation from sellers pick up quite a bit. And we're seeing some that are dropping their prices more aggressively. And again, I talked about this a little bit before, and I'll mention it again. They're starting to price for the market that we're in, not the market that they want. And I feel like that's a trap that a lot of sellers have fallen into over the last 18 months, is they're still trying to price and strategize the sale of their home as if it's 2021, 2022, and they're hoping that things get back to that. But the reality is, you have to make your home as attractive as possible right now to buyers. And one of the best ways that you can do that is by offering a reasonable price, offering concessions when necessary to help buyers to qualify, especially for homes that are in that 500,000 range and below. For a long, long time, we saw consistent demand in that price range. Even if we saw things a lot slower over 500,000-600,000, $1 million homes, those are all kind of unique markets and unique homes, and the demand can ebb and flow. But we always saw pretty consistent demand, 500,000 and less, because you had a lot of first-time home buyers that were getting in, people that were tired of renting, wanted to buy, wanted to own, and so we saw consistent demand, and that's something that has really dropped off this year. A lot of people saying, well, maybe it costs us a little bit more to own than it does to rent, and so we'll stand pat, we'll wait it out 6 more months, another year, whatever that may be. But now we're finally starting to see some sellers give on price, give on concessions, and start to be a little more aggressive in putting deals together. So I'm really curious to see what the numbers will look like for June as far as what our median sale prices look like. I know the sales numbers are going to continue to be a little bit down, but I'm really curious to see what that median price looks like, because we definitely have seen sellers get a little more aggressive and kind of get up with the times as far as pricing goes and making their home as appealing as possible. And I guess my last little footnote that I would say is, if you are a property owner, you're thinking about selling your home, who you decide to work with is more critical now than ever. I mentioned it a few videos ago, but there are a lot of professionals in our industry that have never been in a market like this, never been in anything even close to this. All they're used to is selling in an increasing market with crazy demand and tons of buyers, and they have no idea how to strategize, how to price a home, and how to set proper expectations with you. The problem right now is, because the number of transactions is so low in town, there are a lot of people that will say whatever you want to hear to get you to sign that contract. They'll overprice your home, they'll put you in a losing situation, and your home will sit on the market, very little showing activity or no showing activity, no offers, no nothing, and you'll never hear from them because they don't want to have that uncomfortable conversation with you about the reality of the market that we're in and help you to put your home in the best position possible. They'll take low quality photos. They won't give you a 3D tour of your home, and they'll do a lot of things to deter buyers from wanting to come see the home because it doesn't look that good online. So why would they want to come take a look at it in person? So who you choose to work with matters more now than ever. I'm fortunate enough that I've worked in some niches in the market here in Las Vegas that have had a lot of ups and downs, a lot of big swings. And I've had a lot of those conversations with owners. Really and truly, as a property owner, you want the reality of the situation and you want to be put in the best position possible, because if you overprice your home in a struggling market, in a declining market, all you're doing is leaving money on the table. Because just like when homes sell at higher prices in a strong market, in a declining market, the benchmark is set, the next one comes in a little bit lower, and the next one a little lower, and so on and so forth. So pricing your home right from day one and having the right strategy, having the right professional on your side is more important now than ever before. So I hope you guys got some value out of this video. Be sure to subscribe so you get notifications anytime I post new videos. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you at the next one.